if you didn't notice that we were the ones who were disciplined who came to Cheney. We weren't the guys. We weren't the guys that stayed out all night. We weren't the guys to go out and party or kick it or what I'm saying, doing the other miscellaneous things that some of our peers had did. You want to know the best thing that I remember about those? Because those days was long and hard. Those days was long and hard. But the best thing that I've seen, and this is what I'm talking about teamwork, when some of Joe Wilson wasn't able to catch the time, well, guess what? We'll go back and go grab him and drag him across the line. We'll put him on our shoulders and we'll all grab him. And we all, because it didn't just happen to him, we only as strong as our weakest link, but we all went back to go get him. Yeah, you got to think, me and Dwayne, no, we were the first. We were the first ones to get an athletic scholarship. Me and Dwayne were the first ones in our family who got an athletic scholarship. You know what I'm saying? I think we were the second and third ones to ever actually go to college. Fourth.
We're back with one more down. Today we have a lifelong friend of mine and teammate, Mark Herron Sr. Mark Herron was an outstanding two-time All-City wide receiver out of Chaney High School, class of 1993. Made first team All-Ohio as a senior, one of the great players in Chaney's history. And, I'm proud to have been a friend and a teammate of his. We continue our relationship to this day. We consider ourselves as family as opposed to friends after knowing each other for about 41 years here now. I'm glad to have you on, Mark. It's always, fun to get a chance to chop it up with you and just see what's going on with you and the family. Welcome to One More Down.
Thank you, Ron. Thank you. And you're always family. You already know that.
Absolutely. We got a long history and could tell stories all day about each other, all the times we
Yes,
had together. But I wouldn't trade any of it, for anything on this planet. To
exactly.
get,
Both ways.
getting started, we generally kind of get an idea of where you grew up and your beginnings in Youngstown, some of your family dynamics. So if you could you kind of give us a layout of where your beginnings were and, get into who your parents are?
Okay. Well, everyone, well, not everyone, but born in Youngstown, Ohio. You know what I'm saying? Born and bred, and we're a different type of people. Youngstown is a different type of people. But I grew up actually with my aunt and my uncle, who actually, you know what I'm saying, did. It was a village. Who I was raised by a village, but my uncle and my aunt primarily raised me. My aunt Diane and my uncle Brucey, who's, as you know, Dwayne Thompson, Ron. We're cousins, but that's my brother. Um, and it takes a strong woman, and I'm talking about as my mom, to be able to let someone else help her raise her son, other than just for her to get the glory, but in order for me to have a chance to be successful.
When you refer to your mother, we're talking about Miss Deborah Herron,
Mhm.
tough lady, loving lady, always there cheering you on. I remember, her being at games, and she's not big on uh, displaying, what she thinks, but you could always see, that she wanted you to do your best. Can you give us a little insight into your dad?
Um, of recent history, I can. Recent history, my dad was primarily absent in my childhood, but you know what I'm saying, he has done a tremendous job in retribution for as helping and dealing with my grandkids, his grandkids, excuse me. So he's done a great job as a grandfather. Coming up, I knew of him, but time-wise, we didn't spend a lot of time together. We didn't. It wasn't, hey, champ, let's go pitch the football around or the baseball around or the basketball around. I mean, but I knew of it.
Now, what is your first significant memory of football when you think back to your beginnings playing the game?
Wow. I was 4.5 years old, I believe, and all my cousins was playing football. My older cousins was playing football, so they were at the boys' club, and the boys' club wouldn't let me play. So one of my other cousins had played for the Little Braves, and he was like, "Come on, Mark, I know where you can play." So my mom was totally set against it. My aunt and uncle was totally set against it because my stature. I was skinny, small, but the Little Braves gave me the opportunity. Now I played center and middle linebacker. It didn't make no sense, but I grew to know the game and I grew to love the game. The Little Braves is what started.
I'm very familiar with that as I was with those little ones, and we banged heads every year for at least from the time that I entered the game in about sixth grade. That sixth grade, seventh grade year. I got you one time, and then you guys ushered us up out of there the second year. But you go on to play over at Adams, and then we get to rejoin forces and reconnect as we enter Chaney High School in the fall of 1989. So going into that experience over at Chaney, we're all looking forward to having the chance to get back out there and compete and show what we have. Um, you know, can you give some of your thoughts about that transition over to Chaney, and then just your outlook on what your prospects were for you know um, advancing your career and advancing your skills and talent at the high school level?
I'll tell you truth, Ron. And we spoke on this before, but I give you another insight that I've never shared. But if you didn't notice that we were the ones who were disciplined who came to Cheney. We weren't the guys. We weren't the guys that stayed out all night. We weren't the guys to go out and party or kick it or what I'm saying, doing the other miscellaneous things that some of our peers had did. And we were just different. We were different. And when we came to Cheney and we were treated as that we were that element, it really rubbed me the wrong way. Because we were the guys that we were the captains. Actually, if you think about it, all of us that was at Cheney was the captains of our little league teams and our junior high team. So we were already in leadership position. So when we came to Cheney and didn't get that respect off rip, that no. We come from championship teams. There's not a program that I've been involved in that we haven't won a championship. And I think that's due to, what I'm saying, first and foremost, all praises go to God. But secondly, what I'm saying, is leadership. And I believe that that's why we were successful at Cheney once they understood that, oh, these are no ordinary guys. You know what I'm saying? Because guess what? We were killing the upperclassmen. They were getting in trouble on a daily basis because they couldn't score on us, or they couldn't stop us from scoring on them. You see what I'm saying? So I already knew that I was with my boys, and I knew that every last one of us was special.
We cut our teeth playing JV ball that first year, 10th grade. Um,
Mhm.
You know, you
But we
you
had to sit out our freshman. We had to sit out our freshman year.
right. Um, you know, you end up developing as a wide receiver and a cornerback at that level. You know, what was your preference at that time? You know, as we're beginning our high school careers, you know, did you prefer the offensive side of the ball, or did you want to be on the defensive side of the ball primarily?
Ron, our whole careers we played offense and defense. It was second nature to play Iron Man ball. I didn't think I had to choose one because we was always doing okay. We just switch on the other side of the ball. So I didn't have a preference. I liked offense and I loved defense. You know what I'm saying? So it was nothing about which one I preferred. It was just what time is the game.
You know, so what you know, I know how I got over there on that side to Chaney. Uh, you know, getting over there on that racial balance transfer. Um, was that where you wanted to be initially, or did you have your eye on another school as you left junior high going into high school?
Initially, we was begging to go to South, but my mom, my aunt, and my uncle like no. Especially you got to remember what time that was. You just said in '89. That's when that's when a lot of stuff had started going down. You know, what I'm saying the increasing violence and everything that was going on in our neighborhoods. Our education was poor in the inner city. You know, South, East, Rand, Wilson, Chaney was one of the top educational programs that was considered in the city. But we were actually supposed to go to Austintown fixed, and we were like, no way. Okay, enough is enough. We'll go to Chaney. We'll submit. We'll go to Chaney. But that's how that all went down. We protested against going to fix, and our next choice was Chaney, which I believe was the best choice.
Now, you know, as we move up that next level in 11th grade and become starters, yourself, Sylvester Patton, and me, we get that start as the three defensive backs in this 40 Reed defense, uh, with along with Dwayne Thompson as a interchangeable part who could play corner, who could play safety. You know, what were your thoughts as we headed into that season? You know, having a season of varsity ball under your belt, we all earned letters as 10th graders, but really hadn't been out there for full 4-quarter games. You know, give me some insight and thoughts into, what you thought about that upcoming season, coming off of a 5-5 city championship, and then going into 11th grade with a lot of expectation and promise for that season.
Well, to be honest, if I'm honest, I knew that we were going to dominate because if you think about it, when we was at JV, we were destroying teams. So the players that nucleus right there, I was like, we got something special. You know what I'm saying? Now, once we got to varsity, there was a couple changes here, a couple changes there, but I knew that nucleus of our maker, you know what I'm saying, Tom Tupano. It was just, you know what I'm saying, it was just we were more unified once we played that our sophomore year. I believe that we became unified there to where it was hey, Matt got my back, I got his back. You got Matt's back, you know what I'm saying, and vice versa, and we all came a nucleus where we crossed that color boundary or those things that we didn't understand with each other. And we started talking to each other, we started hanging out with each other, we started eating lunch together, You know what I'm saying? And then that formed our team, that teamwork, to where our summer program, there was nobody else doing the work that we was doing. There was nobody there was doing the work that we was doing.
What are some of those uncomfortable moments in terms of conditioning and working out? What what do you remember about that regimen getting prepared for the season each year?
You want to know the best thing that I remember about those? Because those days was long and hard. Those days was long and hard. But the best thing that I've seen, and this is what I'm talking about, teamwork. When some of Joe Wilson wasn't able to catch the time, well, guess what? We'll go back and go grab him and drag him across the line. We'll put him on our shoulders and we'll all grab him, and we all, because it didn't just happen to him. We only as strong as our weakest link, but we all went back to go get him. And see, and that was the greatest moment. You know what I'm saying? That wasn't just once. It was whoever was hurting that day. Okay, well, you're gonna put it on our shoulders today.
Okay, and then I'm asking you this because I have my own thoughts. What was the least enjoyable conditioning drill that we did?
Right? You want to know? I'm gonna tell you a little secret, Ron. None of them hurt me. I was in, I was a three sports guy, so I never was out of shape. So none of the conditioning hurt me.
Them 330s always killed me. I'm like, I don't like running on the track and looking over to the other side of where I got to go. That just made me slow down even more.
Now I'll tell you this. I'll tell you what hurt me the most when we ran track was the first time I did a 400, and my whole body locked up because I didn't know how to run it. Now that hurt me, but football conditioning and basketball conditioning never phased me because I was always in shape.
Now, when we think about that 1991 season, what are your standout memories from that year, your junior year?
It's not my accolades actually, to be honest with you. It's seeing how much we developed. You know what I'm saying? With you getting your interceptions, you getting your touchdowns, you know what I'm saying, Killer starting to get the ball more. It was more of the relationship that we start building with the coaches as well. Because now we feel as though they start trusting us. When we're in the huddle, they're asking us what's going on the field. You know what I'm saying? Before it was, hey, this is what I need, this is what I want, this is what I want you to do. Instead, they start trusting us to do. These kids, these young men know what they're talking about. These young men, I trust them. And when Coach Berdis started trusting us, Coach, and you already know my boy Coach Mick. Coach Mick started trusting us. It was just that was the floodgates. That's when we started just banging teams out.
Did you ever have any pushback around the city in terms of crossing paths with guys from other schools and having that reputation as a standout player? Did you catch any negative vibes from that, or was everything all good and just on the level of respect for one another?
Of course we had fallback. Of course we had blowback from that. We was from the South Side. We were supposed to go to South, and everything that Chaney, all the accolades that Chaney was getting was supposed to be for South. So we always heard y'all some sellouts because Chaney was a predominantly white school at the time. So yes, we got blowback. But a lot of guys, and this is the killer part. I used to tell them this. They used to be like, Mark, only reason why y'all beat us because we was out kicking it. Who fault is that? It's not my fault. We had curfews. Our coaches was calling us at 9 o'clock, making sure we in the house. You see what I'm saying? So that structure we had, if it wasn't at South, we might have fell into that. So if we would have fell into that, then we wouldn't have had the success that we had at Chaney.
Now,
we bought into the program.
Having those opportunities and getting the chance to experience a winning culture and winning team, playoffs, and then seeing different guys that were in classes ahead of us get opportunities to go on and play at the next level. When did you start really feeling and believing that you had a real shot and a real opportunity to play at that college level?
Football wise, I actually was about to forego my senior year, and I was just going to go to basketball. Coach Jim Mullally is actually the one who made me go back and play football, because he told me that Mark, you might be able to get in Division II or Division III in basketball, but you're a Division I player in football. So I never grasped how good we were, because to me, we was just doing what we always did.
Right. So, and if I'm understanding you, to me, it sounds like you're saying that you didn't have any examples or anybody mentoring you in terms of how to get to the next level or what that process looked like, and it was just all new territory as it came.
Yeah, you got to think, me and Dwayne, we were the first. We were the first ones to get an athletic scholarship. Me and Dwayne were the first ones in our family who got an athletic scholarship. You know what I'm saying? I think we were the second and third ones to ever actually go to college. Fourth, because Stacy went and Leonard went. But no one else from my family had went to college. Stacy went to a culinary, I'm saying it wrong, but you know what I'm talking about. And Leonard had went to Slippery Rock. But there was nobody guiding us through this process. So it was actually, you remember when you and I went up to Toledo together. It was a frustrating process because we don't know if we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if I'm supposed to sign this contract now and then, because I didn't know that they was going to hold it or if they would hold it. Because what they do is you come in and be like, hey, these are only 2 scholarships that we got. Well, I didn't know that he just told the other 8 players the same thing. You see what I'm saying? So it was learn as you go. And then once I became, acclimated to college life, and they had me recruiting kids, that's when I was starting setting things right. Hey, you got time to, because I learned the process. So I'm telling kids before they do not sign this if you're not sure. Find out your other, you know what I'm saying? Because if they had me on the kid, this was a kid that was a number 1 prospect. They put me on all the number 1 prospects. So therefore, I'm letting them know that scholarship will be here. Go do all your visits.
When I think back to some of your impact as a player at that high school level, it kind of matches what you said in terms of not really having a preference for one side of the ball or the other, because it was just what you had always done. There was no such thing as being a specialist, if you will, and only playing receiver or only playing defensive back. In our day, at the little league level, at the high school level, junior high level, if you had some type of proficiency and skill, you had to play all those phases of the game. Your stats, they're pretty even. Like receiving the ball, you have about 750 career yards as a junior and a senior, 126 tackles on the defensive side of the ball. You're scoring on pass receptions, returning punts, and taking back interceptions. So as you transition up to that college level, and now you're expected to specialize, you're expected to play primarily one phase of the game. How does that sit with you in going into that process?
I was furious. I was furious. I was confused because not only did they only want you to play on one side of the ball, I couldn't play any other athletics. So therefore, I couldn't even try out to go play basketball or run track because you're only allowed to play that sport. So I'm feeling like my hands is tied. You know what I'm saying? And then it's to the point where because D1, you got to give your all. But it goes back to what I said earlier when we was talking about high school. I was in condition. I was able to play both sides of the ball. I felt. But they believe that you got more chance to get hurt the more times you're on the field. So that's a lot of things why you don't see a lot of players. You see the Charles Woodsons, you see the Deion Sanders, who got to play both sides of the ball in college, but that's because they're phenomenal players.
So what's the biggest adjustment or acclimation, leaving Youngstown and going up to the University of Toledo, and then you're all of a sudden having to start over and prove yourself again? What's the biggest adjustment for you leaving high school going to the D1A level?
It was the size and speed. You got D linemen. You got D linemen running 4.5s. You know what I'm saying? You got offensive linemen that's over 400 pounds, and they pulling, and they coming. So it was the size and speed that really, I was like, oh my God, Seal, hey, we might be in the wrong place. Because they over here, they got the whole bar of the weights filled with 45 pounds, and they just repping stuff out. You like, oh my God, what did I get into? And they stand at 6'4", 6'5".
So you end up becoming a 4-year starter there. Can you take me through that process of how you force yourself into that rotation and emerge as a person that can be counted on right away?
Because I don't take a playoff. To be honest, practice is game day for me. Like I told my sons, what happens in practice happens in the game. So if you take a playoff in practice, you're going to take a playoff in the game. A lot of my teammates on the other side of the ball, like, Mark, hey, let me block you. That's not going to happen. I'm fighting for a job. I'm fighting for a spot. I'm going to give you, guess what? I'm going to give you my best so you can be better. And that's how I did it. I was making big plays during spring ball, summer ball. You know what I'm saying? And eventually when the fall came, I was able to get in.
And so what is that first moment where you get onto the field up there at Toledo, if you can recall?
My first my first play of my college career, they put me back there at punt returner, and I was the ball. I can't even remember who we was playing, but they punted me the ball, and I took it back for a touchdown, like 67 yards or something. And I was like, "This for real?" It was a so real moment, but like, hold on, did I get scored? Because as I'm running, only thing I hear is my heartbeat, and it's
Right.
pounding through my chest. It's going through my chest because I'm over here like maybe that's why I got to the end zone because I was running for my life. You know, but it was a surreal moment where what I'm saying, like college playing D1 football is a privilege, and I was like, man, I'm on this stage and actually making an impact.
So did that give you a lot of more confidence and confirmation that you belonged at that level and could handle your own there?
Yes, yes, until West Virginia. I mean, Western Michigan.
What do you mean when you say until Western Michigan? What's going on there?
Ah, they tore my behind up. When I say they audible and checked every time I pressed or off man, they tore my behind up. Now that's when I knew I was ready to play because I was able to shake it off. It's not when everything's going good, everything that you can play. It's when things is going bad and you can bounce back. That's when you know you're ready to play.
As you guys progress through um, your career there, your team is getting increasingly better. The pieces are coming together. The offense is dynamic. You guys switched to a different defensive scheme that uh, at least familiar to us in terms of setup. A 4-4 with four linebackers, three defensive backs primarily. But scheme wise, you guys are um, doing things out of that 4-4 that we didn't do at the high school level in terms of man coverage, showing a three deep look, but playing combo coverage on the outside or against slot receivers. What did you think about the coaching acumen, Coach Pinkel, Coach Parker? Uh, can you tell us about what it was like to be within that program at Toledo from 93 through 96?
Okay, 93 we went 7-7, 7-7. Then we went 8-6, 94. Then once we switched to the 4-4 defense, we went undefeated, and then we went undefeated again my senior year. Now the transition came because in '93 was Al Baker's last year, which was he was a student of the game. Actually, we actually have more students of the game than just athletic people, and that's what what I'm saying led to some of our success. But the 3-4 defense was becoming obsolete, and they was people were finding ways to overpower our defense, and they was running up our behinds. So we switched to the 4-4 defense, and we actually used Virginia Tech, which that's where what I'm saying we was able to boom transition well because we had a blueprint because Virginia Tech at that time was running the 4-4 defense like a clinic. But I was moved from cornerback to free safety. It was uncomfortable at first, but I felt so much free when it clicked. When everything clicked, that's when everything started popping off.
Who are the individuals that you competed against that were special in terms of testing yourself, man on man, or our our squad against your squad? What were those standout games that you participated in that are fond in your memory bank?
Well, I'm gonna give you the number one man, who was Mark Allstott, who
You
played
talk
at
about Mike Allstott,
yeah,
the
Mike. Excuse me, I was
Buccaneer.
talking about Mike Allstott, and he was. Let me tell you this: if anybody don't say this about him, I'm gonna say it. He is a man. I hit him. I think I set one of our tackling records, but it was like the middle of the third quarter, and I went back to the huddle. I just got done hitting me 1-on-1. I said, if I have to hit him one more time by myself, I'm gonna let him run straight to the end zone. Because I'm giving this man everything I got, and the only thing he's doing is lifting his knee pads up and trot back to the huddle like nothing happened. So Mike Allstott was, yeah, I'll never forget him.
You know, when you get to travel outside of the confines of what is the Midwest, and you see different parts of the country playing college ball, what did you like or dislike about that setup and that structure? When you compare the high school level and 9 out of 10 times your games being very regional or
Mhm.
right within the vicinity of where you're from, to all of a sudden, you get into
I'm
go to
in
different states.
Louisiana. Mm.
Right.
Ron, I tell you this. I probably wouldn't have seen the world the way I've seen the world if it wasn't for football. I got to see different states. I got to see how different people live. Like I had said about Louisiana, it's what I had never seen a cotton field until we landed in one. You know what I'm saying? Which brought a lot of history up, a lot of conversations that I had. You know what I'm saying about that. I mean, we said Purdue, Indiana. You got a kid that's from Youngstown. We didn't go anywhere. We went to Six Flags with Sandusky. You know what I'm saying? Cedar Point. But we wasn't. Well, and I went to Pittsburgh. But we're not really going outside of Youngstown, and too much. Not even outside of our side of towns. So man, football, college football showed me about flying on planes. It was just coming back and forth to back home on a train. You know, I never rode on a train until I was in college. So these are the different aspects of life that a lot of these kids is never going to experience.
You wrap up your college career, you 4 year starter, you make all conference. You leave as one of the top tacklers in school history for your position group. Um, as you're leaving that college level, what are your prospects and your outlooks moving on from that eligibility?
I went through a stage of depression because, like I just told you before, I started at 4.5 years old, and then for all that to just stop, that your identity is built into that. You know what I'm saying? Lawrence Taylor said it best on game day. When all the applause stopped, what do you have left? Now I was blessed that I could turn my focus on my daughter that my wife now had when I was in college. So a lot of my focus was on her, but I didn't know how to hold down a job. I didn't want to do nothing but football, you know. So life life started, and I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to give up that football life.
You had some time in the Arena Football League. What was that process like? Going from an 11-man game to essentially playing football in a box.
I have fun. I have fun, but you got to remember, I was 30 when I started doing that. So I didn't. It. I was old now. I mean, not old, but I was older. So therefore, the games that kids play at 21, 22, 23, 24, I wasn't into that. Do that make sense?
Right.
Like,
You're not sticking and staying with the regimen year round. You're not acclimated as you would have been coming straight out of college going into competition.
right. I mean, and guess what? Dude, I did well. I did well there. It just wasn't the same because these guys, they didn't know the players that I knew. They didn't, you know what I'm saying? So we didn't have too much in common. You know what I'm saying? They didn't, and I didn't even know about this. Whereas there are certain players you can't touch. So I was getting in trouble because I'm banging I'm banging a star receiver up. You know what I'm saying? Whereas, like I told you, I go 100% every day.
Right.
But if he's over here, if I let him toast me all day, I'm never going to be on the field. So it was that politics to where I didn't know how to play that politics. So I liked it, but I didn't like it.
You mentioned becoming a father in college very early on, and you started into it, but how did that uh, change your life at that point? You're playing the game, thinking about what your prospects are, and then all of a sudden you have a added layer of responsibility uh, to your life. Um, what does that do for a young man who's not figured out, what the landing pad is going to be for himself yet, and then now you have another person that is counting on you to do well and make the right choice.
It was easy to make the right choice because I refused to do what was done to me. So it was easy, like nothing else mattered. Nothing else mattered when I had my daughter. Nothing else. There was no other choice but to be in her life, but to raise her.
Marlise is soon followed by a set of twins and then a set of triplets.
Yeah,
All in all, your wife, Davita Herron, or formerly Davita Brock, who is our classmate in high school, you all got six really good kids. Obviously, I've watched them from the time that they were born and watched them transition and grow up to where they are now. So, six children, two daughters, four sons. Um, what's that like being an only child and then being the father of a brood of six?
rude.
And yeah, and not only six, but the age gap isn't very far in between. So, for a certain period of time, I don't know for certain, but I'll use the term overwhelmed because everybody's needs have to be met all at once, when they're all younger kids. But certainly they've grown into their own. You all have done a great job in guiding them to the point of adulthood. But, what is that like as you're, you know, trying to get children potty trained, buying diapers, having to work and provide, and just make sure that your children survive and can navigate and be shielded from, some of the tougher parts that's out there waiting for them?
Well, first and foremost, let me say I'm not a giant. I just stand on the shoulders of one, and that's my wife, Davita. But secondly, it would have been a lot harder if we didn't have Sister Jerome and Sister Mary from Youngstown Community School, which they all attended, because they helped out tremendously. And you know what I'm saying, it was by faith alone that we were able to raise them, and that they would fall into the program that we were selling them. Be honest with you, Ron, it was not difficult. I had a ball raising my kids. I tell you this, I enjoyed them more when they were kids than when they're adults now. They drive me bananas now. But it's just honestly, it was a pleasure, man. I can't ask God for anything other than what He gave me. He blessed me with, because all six of them was a blessing.
Now, your daughter was a standout track athlete in high school. Your sons all followed in your footsteps. You know, finding their way to the gridiron. Mark Jr., a college graduate out of the College of Worcester. You have two that are currently playing at the University of Charleston down in West Virginia. And then Marshall is making his way in the work world. Um, what is that like to get to watch your sons compete, one bearing your name, three more that go to your alma mater and play? What does that do for you in the sense of pride as a father, getting to watch your boys perform the sport that you grew up loving?
Ron, it's a blessing, man, and I'm not gonna lie. It is one of those proud moments, one of those moments where you like it's it's difficult. It's difficult for me to express it. It's not just my sons; it's all six of my children that I'm just proud of, and it's not just because they took after me. Because a couple of them I had to bribe in order to play football because they didn't want to play. You know, but it's them growing up to be the individuals that they're going to be, or not even going to be. They're headed to be, and that's what. It's not about football. I always told my kids. I said, reason why I got you guys playing these sports is because there is no way that I can afford to pay for six people to go to college. I said we're going to use athletics to get our education. Their education, those three boys that you just said that or young men, excuse me, my sons, they don't just have athletic scholarships. Each and one of them has over a 3.0 in college. So therefore, we we prided ourselves on education and not sports. Sports was just a means.
You know, in your post-athletic career, you've had a few different experiences in the workforce. Can you, give us some uh, background on what you've done in your professional career over the years?
Well, I have over 2 decades experience in corrections. I worked with the maximum juvenile in Marion, Ohio. Then I worked when they closed. We moved to Circleville and worked at Circleville sex offenders um, corrections. And then we left Columbus, and I came back. Worked for Astro Shapes for a while, which is a manufacturing plant, and then I got back into residential life, which is my brother's company. I was a supervisor there dealing with residential children, boys and females with trauma. I recently opened my venture, opening my own company, which is At Risk to Success Trauma Informed Services, where I deal with 18 to 27-year-old females who's dealing with either trauma, who's been or needs restorative justice, who's in JJC and about to go either adult system or go the right path. So all these the kids, I always call them kids because we're old now, and 18 is a kid to us, But I'm just trying to keep them off these streets. We provide housing, job training, job interviewing, job resumes, um, CBT training as far as cognitive behavior thinking, provide counseling for them, and other therapies. I'm just trying to get them to and independent living. Excuse me. We provide housing as well for as independent living, trying to get them on track.
Yeah, when you look at the total picture and package of uh, where you started out up to this current point, you always gave great effort no matter what you did in terms of athletics. I was there to witness a big portion and a big bulk of it. High intensity, very focused guy and very committed guy, to success. So it's not really about the sport, it's just about the outcome. And that outcome for you, you want to be a winner. You did that as an athlete. You know, as a father, I consider you on that same level as I watched you over the years, committed and dedicated. And I didn't say perfect. I didn't say you always do the right thing and make the right choice. None of us do. But you're in there, that you can count on Mark Herron at the end of the day to be a protector and a provider for his family. Um, as you had these different experiences in your work career, and now you take on this new venture of striking out on your own and providing services for people in the community that need you. It just kind of falls in line with the way that I've seen you and known you throughout your life. Um, so, in saying all of that, in terms of athletics, in terms of the game of football, if you had one more down, if you could go back to a time period or a moment uh, to experience or relive for yourself, what would that one more down be for you? Uh, who would you be with? Uh, how would you set that up?
I don't know if I had told you this, Ron. Actually, the reason why I opened this company, and you talking about the one more down is if I could have caught my son's sickness earlier, because my son actually suffers from multi personality and borderline personality and ADHD. And he actually, the reason why I actually changed my business around is because of his suffering. And there was nowhere here for him to get help. because he was 21 at the time. So if I had one more down, that's what I would spend it on.
You know, that's a answer that really touches to the heart and the core of who you are. You know what I mean? That you've never been one to not wear your emotions out front where everybody can see them. You know, no apologies about uh, being who you are. You know, take Mark Herron in all of his glory or his deficiencies and flaws, like it or not. um, you know, the courage for you as a father to put that out into the atmosphere and into the general public, it just speaks to the man that you are, and then the confidence that you have in things being okay in the end, and that you're going to do something to impact it one way or the other. um, you know, for you to give me a couple moments to come on, you know, reflect a little bit, tie those things all together, I'm appreciative and thankful to you and for you. And then I also wish you that continued success, you know, in terms of your business venture, watching your family grow. You know, I'll be excited to hear as these grandkids develop and, you know, carry on that name and that personality into the future, man. So thank you for, you know, being my guest today and giving me a few moments to, you know, go back in the time and just think about what's been before us and what's yet to come.
I appreciate you, Ron, as well as always.